The rain fell in quiet sheets that afternoon, the kind that made everything look a little grayer, a little lonelier. Inside a small bakery tucked in the corner of a busy street, a man stood by the counter, holding his phone tightly. His hands trembled slightly, his eyes heavy with defeat. The woman behind the counter looked at him with quiet sympathy as he swallowed hard and whispered, "I'm sorry. I can't afford it anymore. Please cancel the cake order." It was supposed to be for his son's 8th birthday, a chocolate cake with a little toy truck on top, something simple but filled with love. But as his card kept declining again and again, he realized he couldn't even give his little boy that small joy. He didn't know that someone was watching, someone whose next move would change their lives forever. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of compassion, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us spread more stories that touch the heart. Ethan Miller was a single dad who had known too many storms in too short a life. Just a few years ago, he'd had everything: a good job, a happy wife, a cozy home filled with laughter. But tragedy has its own cruel timing. His wife, Claire, passed away suddenly from a heart condition when their son Noah was just 4. Since that day, Ethan's world collapsed in slow motion. Bills piled up, his savings drained away. Nights turned into endless shifts at the auto repair shop, and yet, every month ended with less than he started with. But through all that darkness, Noah remained his light, a little boy with big brown eyes who never complained, who never asked why their dinners were sometimes just sandwiches, or why they couldn't go on vacations like other families. Ethan had promised himself one thing: no matter how hard life got, he would always make Noah's birthday special. It was the one day of the year where his boy could feel like any other child, celebrated, seen, and loved. But this year was different. The shop had cut his hours, and an unexpected medical bill for Noah's asthma inhaler wiped out what little savings he had left. When he went to pick up the cake, his heart sank as the card declined 3 times. The cashier tried to smile politely, but Ethan could feel the stares from people behind him. He muttered a thank you, turned around, and left quietly, holding back tears that burned his eyes. What he didn't know was that at one of the nearby tables sat a woman dressed in simple jeans and a raincoat, her hair tied back casually. To the bakery owner, she was just another customer waiting for her order. To the rest of the world, she was Isabella Hart, one of the most powerful businesswomen in the city, the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar tech company. But that afternoon, Isabella wasn't thinking about stocks or contracts. She was watching a man walk out into the rain, empty-handed, with a look of silent pain that reminded her too much of someone she once knew. When Isabella was a child, her father had walked out on them, leaving her mother to raise 3 kids alone. She remembered the nights when her mother skipped dinner just so they could eat, the birthdays where the only cake was a slice of bread with jam and a candle stuck in the middle. So when she saw Ethan's trembling hands and the quiet heartbreak in his eyes, something inside her broke open, a floodgate of memories, empathy, and something even deeper. Without hesitation, she approached the counter and asked the cashier softly, "That man, he canceled the cake just now, right? Can I see the order?" The cashier nodded, confused but cooperative, showing her the slip with the name Noah Miller and the note that said, "Happy birthday, buddy. Love, Dad." Isabella's throat tightened. She took out her black card and said, "Make it double, the best cake you can. Add decorations, balloons, candles, and every bit of happiness you can find in this store. And deliver it to this address." The address was written at the bottom of the order form. Later that evening, as the rain finally eased, Ethan sat in his small apartment. The walls were thin, the furniture old, and the air smelled faintly of rain and engine grease. He sat on the worn-out couch with Noah, who was trying hard to smile despite knowing something was wrong. Ethan had told him gently that they would celebrate next week, but Noah wasn't upset. He simply hugged his father and said, "It's okay, Daddy. I already got my best present you." That sentence alone was enough to make Ethan's heart ache and melt all at once. Just then, a knock echoed at the door. Ethan frowned, wiping his eyes quickly, thinking it was probably the landlord or a neighbor. But when he opened the door, he froze. 2 delivery workers stood there, holding a huge cake decorated with blue frosting and toy trucks. Behind them were boxes filled with balloons, party hats, and wrapped gifts. For a moment, Ethan thought it was a mistake. I didn't order anything, he stammered. The delivery man smiled and said, "It's all paid for, sir. Happy birthday to Noah." Noah's face lit up like sunshine breaking through clouds. He gasped and ran to the cake, clapping his little hands. "Daddy, it says my name. It's really mine." Ethan stood speechless, unable to process what was happening. Then, tucked between the balloons, he noticed a small white envelope. He opened it, and inside was a simple handwritten note. "Sometimes, life forgets to be kind. But people can remember. From one stranger to another, happy birthday to your boy. Don't lose hope. IH." Ethan's eyes filled with tears. He didn't know who IH was, but that night, he and Noah celebrated like never before. They laughed, sang, and cut the cake together. It wasn't just a birthday. It was a reminder that they weren't invisible, that kindness still existed in a world that often felt cold. But the story didn't end there. A few weeks later, Ethan received a call from a woman representing a foundation that supported single parents. She said someone had recommended him for a small grant program that helped struggling fathers start their own businesses. Confused but hopeful, Ethan attended the meeting, and there she was. Isabella Hart herself, standing at the front of the room, speaking about compassion and second chances. When their eyes met, Ethan realized who she was. He didn't need an introduction. He could see it in the warmth of her smile. After the event, she quietly approached him. "You remind me of my mother," she said softly. "She worked herself to the bone to give us a better life. You're doing the same for your son. I just wanted to make sure you never gave up." Ethan tried to thank her, but his voice broke. Instead, he shook her hand, eyes glistening. Isabella told him the foundation wanted to help him start his own small auto repair shop, fully funded for a year. She believed people like him, the ones who never stopped trying, deserved that chance. Months passed. The shop opened under the name Noah's Wheels. Business grew quickly, not because of fancy ads or expensive tools, but because people felt something genuine when they walked in. Ethan treated every customer with the same honesty he'd lived his life with. And sometimes, when he looked out of the window and saw Noah playing with balloons in the parking lot, he thought of that rainy day and the woman whose kindness had rewritten their story. Isabella visited quietly once in a while, never for publicity, never for thanks. She always said the same thing before leaving: "Keep paying it forward." And Ethan did. Whenever someone came in with more worries than money, he'd fix what he could, charge what they could afford, and always remember that one stranger's kindness had changed his world. One evening, as the sun dipped low and the shop lights flickered on, Noah, now older, asked his dad, "Do you think we'll ever meet the person who gave me that birthday cake again?" Ethan smiled and said, "Maybe, son. But even if we don't, she's already here, in everything good that happens to us."